is Amelia. You already know that. You've probably been watching this channel for a while. Anyway, what are we going to be talking about today is a book that I read. This is not the book, this is the review script. This book has a bit of controversy surrounding it, by which I mean not everyone agrees on it. Usually with BookTube, people tend to agree on a book. Like, it's not kind of Sarah J. Maas or anything. But like, there's some people who are raving about it, saying it's the best thing in the world, and there are some people who hated it. So I thought I'd make a video. I haven't done a review in a while, so this might be kind of bad, but this time I am using a script, as you can see. Yeah. So I found out about this book through Emma Book's LGBT recommendations video, which I will link down below if you like. If you have already guessed what the book is, that's probably because you're watching me on Goodreads, or you watch my vlog, or like you've even looked at the list of videos on this channel. But if not, allow me to grab it for you. So I read Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Colhurst, and I gave it a 3-star rating. So I'm kind of in the middle bracket, the people who didn't think it was the best book ever, but also didn't think it was terribly shit. Let's get into this. So let's talk about the writing. It's pretty average. The first line of the book is usually a great way to tell if it's well written or not. The first line is, and this shouldn't take me long to find, "When I was 7 winters of age, my mother caught me in the hearth, stacking red-hot coals with my bare hands." Another thing that I thought about while editing this video was the constant insistence of the writer not to use words like hours and years. Instead, they go with sun lengths and winters, and I think on the one hand that's cool when it works for like a world that doesn't have the same like time measurement system as us, but it doesn't make a lot of sense in this context, and it's just kind of a bit jarring. Like, obviously they're gonna have words. I just think it could be, there are times when you need to make up a time measurement system, and there are times when you don't, and this is one of the times when you don't. It feels like one of those lines that's meant to be kind of punchy and interesting and intriguing, but is actually kind of just a bit dull because of the way it's written, the word order. It's not a very flowery writing style. The thing, like, it tends to drone. You know, it's no Leigh Bardugo, let's say. It is very readable, I'll give it that. You can read this pretty easily, no hard language. You're probably gonna have a decent time of it. That's my writing compliment. The characters in this are so bland. I sound like I'm just listing criticisms. The only character that's really clearly defined is Mare, and there's this moment of very bad mischaracterization later on where she goes instantly from being, I don't want to get married and have kids and do any of that stuff, to instantly considering this man's proposal at like last second for no reason. Like, the smallest change has happened, and it's really weird and it doesn't seem right. Like, there wasn't enough build up to it. It just didn't make enough sense for me to believe it was part of her character. I also never really felt attached to the characters. I wasn't upset when any of them suffered. I never worried about them dying or anything happening. There were 2 characters which I constantly confused for each other, which were the 2 princes, Van Dillamon and Casmiel, who I just didn't care about either of them. So that was great. The mistreatment of Mare also is never explained at all, other than she's not a conventional princess, which I thought, well, her dad is like letting her do all of this stuff, so I'd assume they don't care that much that she's not a conventional princess, but at the same time they treat her like shit. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. It just seems like unnecessary conflict. I don't know. It's never properly explained in the story why she gets mistreated in such a way. There's I'm not even sure there's an implication that it's got something to do with her mother. Like, we barely hear about her family life, and it's just so weird to me. I don't know. I mean, I say we barely hear about her family life, but I mean we barely hear about her family life before Denalea entered. So it's like, oh, did they just not exist before Denalea showed up. It doesn't make a lot of sense. She only ever shares one family memory with her brother, which also seemed very strange to me. Like, her relationship with her brother is actually one of the weirdest things about the story. They go from having this, like, complete camaraderie to hating each other and being horrible because, I don't know, because they like the same girl or something. But we know very clearly that Thandi doesn't really care that much about Denalea, so it just doesn't make a whole bunch of sense to me. I didn't buy their sibling relationship, and I'm saying this as someone with a younger brother, so it's not like I don't get siblings. It's just like, this is just not how siblings behave. And it's just such a strange back and forth, and there's no real... Like, they don't just lightly tease each other in the same way that siblings would. They bully, and it's like... So the story does drag a lot. There's a lot of repetition of the political aspect and not a lot of actual progress on the political aspect. Pacing is, I would say, quite the problem. You go from these characters barely liking each other to hanging out once and then being in love. Granted that this scene with the music is a very, very, very good scene, but like, I don't know, it just feels like there was not enough build-up to it. There was not enough, like, it really drags. It's so boring. I nearly considered DNFing it. Like, if the only reason I didn't was because it was easy to read and I wanted to review it. Yeah. So that's a thing. I can't really say much else about that. I get what people are saying about the world building. I've noticed one of the biggest criticisms that people are making is the world building is kind of bland and not very good, and I gotta say I agree. There's just not enough background. You don't hear about the things that you would expect to hear about, which to me, like, you've got this heavily political story which is based a lot on politics. You need to express why the politics are happening the way they are. You can't just say, oh, politics, and then go on with it. Like, there needs to be the culture, there needs to be the characters. You get maybe one or two lines about the other places in this world. Like, this is the kind of fantasy story that doesn't deserve the map it has at the front, because it's just not. Like, you don't get the content that you would need to make that map mean anything to you. Like, you've got places on this map which aren't even in the book. Like, I mean, obviously that's to make it more realistic or something, but one of the main characters is literally studied in the politics of these places, and she doesn't even talk about the history that much. She's like, oh, they like horse riding, or, oh, there's some conflict there, and it never goes beyond that, which I just think is so strange. It's basically just medieval Europe, but with magic? It's like not very good, world building wise. Also is like, the conflict is so frustrating and like arbitrary, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. There are some times, like, there was this one thing that the character didn't, like, that this character knew and she didn't share, but like no reason. She was like, I should probably tell them this, and then she just doesn't. It's not even explained. There's no reason given for it. And it seems like that should be an important part of the plot, and it's also, that is a plot thread that is never wrapped up. Like, we never find out what happened with that particular thing. And if you read the book, you'll know which thing I'm talking about. But, like, it's never explained. Like, okay. No elaboration, ever. It's really annoying. I want to know more about it, but the other stories set in this universe isn't about this. So, that's great. Let's get into relationships. So, the main relationship is really cute, and the ending is very satisfying regarding them, which is great. There is no, spoilers, there's no bury your gays in this, which is always great. I enjoyed the interactions between these characters. I felt like they had pretty decent chemistry when you got further in. Obviously, before they had their development, they didn't have much chemistry. It was just kind of just them being around each other. Didn't really get it, but it's okay, I guess. that they started being cute like halfway through. Like you can see, like this is my first half, like it's mostly negative tabs, and this is my second half where it's mostly positive tabs. Like this is where the relationship starts to be established, and it gets really good from there. And I absolutely adore it. So that's some other gripes, which I've got on my list. Let's read from the list of my other gripes. Weird girl hating for a lesbian novel. There's a lot of talk about how most of the women at court are stupid and only care about appearances and stuff like that, which is... it would have been fine if it was a commentary on like how the nobility are not that great, but it was just a comment on how noble women are not that great, and it was kind of confusing to me, especially considering this is a lesbian novel. Like there are 3 good girls in the court, and the others are either a bitch or stupid, and it's like, this doesn't make sense to me. Why is no one in the story developed whatsoever? Oh, it's because not even the main characters get development. That's why. It's too much for me to expect that the side characters could have any personality. Hilara, this is like a bit spoilery. She makes no sense. She's an ambassador, but she like criticizes every single decision that the king makes, and then she goes on to like fucking... she's just like... And she's also like, I think, the only woman of colour in the story, and she's portrayed as like a real bitch throughout the story, like for no reason. She's literally just doing her job, but the main characters both hate her for, and like she literally, the way she interacts with these characters, like one, she's like, oh, I would have rather you had an alliance with Zimordo, which is like 100% understandable, and then she also like gets told, like Denalea gets told that Hilara's a real bitch by Mare, and then Denalea is like, okay, I believe you. And then even when Hilara is like advising her on, that's a good girl who you might be friends with, who, by the way, Denalea does end up really good friends with. Denalea is just like, wow, what a bitch Hilara is. She's so awful. And it's like, this doesn't make any sense for these characters to suddenly be judging her so harshly. Like, she's not done a single thing wrong. And like they talk about how, oh, she must have really been glad when Cass died, and it's like, we see no evidence of that in the text. It's like Miss Colthurst was trying to portray this woman as awful, but forgot to actually make her awful, which is just really weird experience to read through that. I really don't think I would recommend this. I don't know, I want to say that like, oh, it's just a cute lesbian romance, it would be great, but at the end of the day, if you're slogging through like 200 words of boring, dry politics and anxiety about nothing, and this character has this really cool, freaky ability, which she just fucking doesn't make use of at all. Like, it comes up, and she doesn't do anything with it. It's not really integral to the plot in any way whatsoever. And it's just not, like, it feels like a third draft. That's what I want to say. It feels like a third draft. It feels like it needed a couple more drafts. I'm going to be honest, I think this needed a better editor. No, actually I don't think this needed a better editor. I think this needed better beta readers. So yeah, that was kind of a dumb conclusion. This needed more editing and more beta reading. Like, yeah, most books that are bad do, but, you know, I think this could be a really good story if it was given that attention, but it wasn't. Or perhaps it was, it just didn't do well, and perhaps the beta readers just weren't very helpful. Who knows? I want to make excuses for it because it's like meant to be a really cute FF romance, and the FF romance is super cute, but there are things about it which don't make sense in the context of who the characters are, and characterization is like basically non-existent. No one has a personality other than like the generic 3 traits that you throw at a character if you're like, oh, I need to fill out this character profile. What shall I put down? I just didn't like it. I think this is like, upon making this video, I might lower my rating to 2 stars. I don't know. I think it would have been 2 stars because it's decently written and it's not majorly offensive to me. But the romance is good enough that it's 3 stars. If it was just the romance and just those passages, which I really loved, it would be 5 stars. It would be 5 stars hands down, which is what frustrates me, because I know that the author had the potential to make it amazing. And it just didn't happen, and that's really annoying, and makes me really worried that I might accidentally do something like that. Oh my goodness. But yeah, like, at the end of the day, I didn't enjoy the book. I enjoyed the romance, but I didn't enjoy the book. And you need to be able to enjoy the entirety of a book for it to be a good book. So yeah, that's my feelings regarding Of Fire and Stars. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all next time.